Her tongue was missing, and we had to do something about that. Welcome back. What are we gonna do? Well, I'm hoping my first playthrough to take the least dark route possible. Where's the tongue? I tried to find my own tongue, stumbling with a pulsing pressure in the back of my head before I could articulate my next inquiry. Hatter, where's the Red Queen's tongue? I didn't want to hear of her voice, so I tore it out and fed it to the dogs. The Red Queen wasn't complete without a tongue. Although she squirmed in the chair, causing the nails to creak, it seemed like she didn't truly have her soul. Alice, you were so close. The corpse looked upon us with stagnant eyes. That should mean I needn't bother searching for it then. What were your intentions, Hatter? Am I the Red Queen? At this point, I still knew nothing about the Red Queen, but that she shared my face and of the various gossips I overheard on the ruler. Alice. Looking at the Hatter's mismatched eyes, I could see what she thought for the first time. What do you think? Let me tell you a story, Your Majesty. So I was Your Majesty now, huh? A long time ago, in this corner of Wonderland, there lived a group of 3 friends. A mouse, a hare, and a hatter. We lived far away from bustling society, usually just coming together for tea. I made hats, and they did mouse and hare things. Once we'd been dragged to perform like clowns for visitors to this kingdom, but only that once, for Her Majesty hadn't quite appreciated our lack of skill. Majesty ran the court of law. A strict queen, some called her. A mad queen, some whispered. A tyrant, most could not even dare to say. I think this story should be predictable, don't you? We were called into court one day. The reason? Maybe only to be judged. She proclaimed us guilty and had us sentenced. I, for no reason, received the lightest sentence of the day. I came away with my neck still intact, not knowing a thing. Thrown into prison and starved. Only just that much. I came out. The streets were filled with newly spilled blood, and 2 very familiar heads rolled my way. Crows feasted on carrion, only for even them to be swept away by the Queen's cards. Do I need to explain further? Perhaps you really are blind and deaf. Dormouse and March Hare are dead. For what? For the sole crime of offending our world's tyrant. And so Hatter has been all alone for a long time. I can never forgive the Red Queen. But she went up and died. Who let her get away like that so easily? You, who are the same entity as the Red Queen. I can't let you go. Don't you understand? Hatter, For the sake of my revenge, you have to die, Alice. She spun the hammer in her hands, her face devoid of mirth as she stepped closer to me, meeting my eyes with her mismatched pair. This is my justice, Alice. Goodbye, Alice. Die! She raised that hammer in her hand above my head. Why did she look like she was about to cry? Crack! That's not good. Then I was falling. Falling. I was falling. Down this rabbit hole with no start nor end. I was falling. My skull and brain pieced itself together, twisting as if going back in time. I re-experienced the pain of having my head kicked in with a hammer. I was going mad. A wetness, perhaps tears, perhaps brain matter rolled down my face as I tried to comprehend. I should have died. I felt as if I was remembering something very important. I landed in Wonderland once more. Alice? The first person to greet me was once more the White Rabbit. I grabbed at my head, and to find no injuries, no red. No longer able to differentiate between dream and reality, I questioned if I had merely been hallucinating the whole time. That I was falling again. I died again. Alice! Each time I fell, I came back down. Alice! became a hazy world, a distorted world, a world that was beginning to lose its colors. Time and time again, falling, falling, falling. I seemed to revert the hourglass and turn back the hands of the clock, each time going into another past. Before I knew it, the rabbit had changed. Your Majesty? Uh-oh. She was a bit more polite. Your Majesty? Perhaps a bit more cruel in her eyes, a bit less restrained with the darkness in her gut. She called out to me, each and every time. Your Majesty! The rabbit was my starting point, my saving point. Falling, falling, falling. I kept falling uncontrollably. Falling, landing, dying, falling. I no longer felt as if I had control of even my own body anymore. My world flickered on and off. It hurt. Dying hurt. I didn't want to deal with this anymore. Alice, you had to deal with this. I didn't want to. I didn't want to. I really didn't want to. I didn't want to deal with this anymore. Again I fell. I felt my body land on the ground. With hazy eyes I saw a familiar figure and heard it speak with a familiar voice as murmurs reached my ears from all around. Her face and her words. Not a single thing could I make out. Before I even got the chance to see the rabbit, a growingly familiar sensation struck me. Pain. A sharp agony burned in my arms until I suddenly could not feel my fingers. Then the same came to my legs. Chop, chop, there they went. A limb or two or three or four. Off they went until suddenly I had none for myself. Soon a blade cut through my neck, sawing as it got stuck, and stabbing again and again till the head finally came off, and I was falling again. Drowning through the flesh, clogging my throat as it all reattached, I came to a realization. Oh, I understood. Alice, what had you understood? I was done. I'd certainly gone mad. I couldn't handle this anymore. Even if I still wanted to go home, it wouldn't do me any good anyhow. Maybe this was a dream, an illusion. Just how long was I supposed to keep falling? Alice, you would never awaken from this dream. Then I was falling again. I decided to stop thinking. And only keep falling. Well, tick, tock, tick, tock. I opened my eyes to a courtroom with an air of fear. Watching. I was simply watching through another's eyes, sitting in the back of her head, without a single meaningful thing in my mind. I was watching. Your Majesty. The body moved without me thinking to do anything. I no longer cared to do anything. The body talked without me thinking to say anything. I no longer cared to say anything. It didn't matter. I could have. I would have stopped watching. It was not because the sights were horrific, but because I no longer wanted to deal with anything and everything. Not even the matters of the Red Queen. A dog, a cat, a bird, a girl, a boy, a person who was neither, a mother, a father, an elderly. One by one they came to be judged. Some begged, some cried, some fought, some silently accepted their fates. The rabbit read out their accused crimes for show, allowing for the Red Queen to proceed. However, there existed only one result. Guilty. At some point she began to laugh. At some point I began to laugh. As ruler, I have sovereignty over my citizens and at the same time, responsibility to make this kingdom prosper. A prosperous kingdom must have law and order. Do understand. Off to the gallows. Be glad for mercy, criminal. Glory to Her Majesty for her benevolence. Guards, bring the next one in for Her Majesty. The accused was reported by her brother-in-law for engaging in gossip and planning treason against the crown by speaking ill of Her Majesty. A simple sentence, a simple beheading for this bird. Bring her away. Guards. The accused was caught evading taxes. She was also seen stealing from upright citizens, assaulting merchants, and spreading rumors about Your Majesty's state of mind. She was only apprehended recently as the guards were unable to capture her previously. Break her legs. Your Majesty is truly brilliant. As for a sentence, could cut off her arms so that she can't commit crimes any longer when she reaches the afterlife, and throw her into prison to await execution by skinning. What will the cat rug look like without arms? A criminal's skin is much too rough for a good rug. All for the cat. That Cheshire? She seemed to think for a moment and snapped her fingers, rending the cat's arms from her body in an instant. And execute the cards who failed to catch her before. We have no need for worthless cards. Next. Next. The Red Queen. I didn't know if she was happy. While she convicted the accused, I inadvertently began to lose track of my surroundings, only to be jolted back by a particularly interesting sentence. The accused. Before the rabbit finished speaking, the accused rushed at the Red Queen. The Red Queen gestured with her hand. An unseen power slammed the criminal down to the ground, creating a crack on the marble flooring of the courtroom. Presumptuous. The force tore the fingertip-sized meat piece by piece from the criminal, leaving it writhing on the floor as it rolled around, trying to get her to stop. Have you forgotten who you belong to? The Red Queen finished once the criminal was ripped into a pile of red pulp on the ground, to be swept away by the cards. I was smiling. The Red Queen was smiling. Next. The day in court continued until the courtroom was devoid of life. She worked on paperwork after court. Between stacks, she conversed with the ministers, who sweat nervously each time she met their beady eyes. Finishing up her important documents, she proceeded to go for a brisk walk and practice swinging a sword here and there. Bringing the Red Queen a towel and water, the rabbit asked if she wanted to visit the White Queen today, which the Red Queen decided against. Dinner time arrived soon enough. She sat in a large dining room at the head of a long table, all alone. A sumptuous meal was served with red wine before her, but she had no one to share it with. The food tasted all right. More importantly, it had been poisoned. The chef used just a little too much, so that the meat began to lose its charm and turn to mediocrity. The Red Queen called the chef over. His eyes darted around the room wildly, knowing that he had nowhere to escape. His legs shook, and he fell to his knees, beginning to beg. The Red Queen took a sword from a decorative suit of armor in the room. Off with his head for daring to poison the queen. Watching as the servants cleaned away the chef's remains, she returned to her meal, which had been quickly replaced. She drank a sip of wine, poisoned wine. Sinister smile. Dismemberment. Next day she returned to the courtroom. One by one the numbers diminished again. Even those in the jury were not spared, they made but the slightest slight. The rabbit smiled with glee, writing down the names of criminals who were to be executed. Not a few times she took the job herself, an axe in hand and boots squelching in blood. Damn rabbit. Red Queen enjoyed her judgment court. Wonderland was her domain, and its people her pieces. If they became disobedient, then she would never let them throw her possessions into disarray. Some days she didn't go, working on governance. Other days she did go, working on her world's peace. These times continued until one day the Red Queen fell asleep when I was still awake. Curling my fingers, I discovered I was in control. Walked over to the balcony, seeing the ground terribly far away. I lifted myself over the balustrade and threw myself off. Air rushed past my face. Splat. Falling. I was falling again back through time. The interstice between the different times and different worlds was still incomprehensible as before. My body knitted together from its mangled form, and I returned to Wonderland. Falling, I fell straight onto a table. Bam! I returned to an iteration of the Hatter's place. Sprawled out on the table, I glanced upwards and saw that familiar pair of mismatched eyes, unfamiliar. Do I know you? No, not quite. Could you get off the table? I do need to put down the tea and snacks at some point, if you understand. Hatter seemed different, as if a heavy weight had yet to settle on her shoulders. I got off the table and stood awkwardly around the unfamiliar place. The Hatter set down her teapot. She was preparing a tea party of sorts, causing me to realize that I had never seen her do setup as things were already We're always already on the table. What's your name? Alice. I'm Alice. You should be Hatter. Mm-hmm. Is there somewhere you need to go so badly that you nearly broke my table? No. I have nowhere. Well, why don't you take a seat? No one uses that armchair over there. Much too armchair, they said. You know how armchairs are, right? Armchair did not skip arm day. I hesitantly approached my armchair. The chair looked newer than in my before. When I sat on it, I sank into the soft cushions. Even though it reminded me of a hammer to my skull, the chair did nothing wrong. I clutched my chest. You aren't having tea? What time is it? This person hated me. Perhaps she did not hate me yet in this moment that we were meeting now, but she hated me all the same in the future, in my present. I shouldn't have cared, but my heart hurt. The clock says 15 minutes before 4. It's almost tea time. Maybe it already is. I'm waiting for March and Dormouse, so it's surely not yet tea time. Ah. This is before March, Hare, and Dormouse died. Tea time, after all, is just a state of mind. I see. You look sad, Alice. Do I? I raised my hand to my face, touching my cheek. I certainly was not smiling. What's your favorite tea? She retrieved a tea set to place on the table, bringing not 3 cups, but 4. 1 cup and saucer was put before me. I enjoy black tea. Recently I've grown fond of Earl Grey. What about you, Hatter? I like any tea, but I also like Earl Grey. I'm not sure why it's an Earl rather than a Count or a Duke, but I'm sure the tea tastes best in Earl. I've heard that it's named after a minister. Or perhaps the minister was named after a tea. Fancy that, your name is Grey, so Her Majesty tells you to become Earl Grey. The Hatter looked happier. A film of water built up over my vision, turning it blurry. Must have gotten something in my eyes. A hiccup bubbled up in my throat. The water wouldn't stop. Why are you crying? Tears rolled down my cheeks as I hurriedly tried to wipe them away with my hands. I really cannot explain. This is so odd. Eat cake. Do you like cake? Would you rather a sandwich or maybe something salty? If you're lacking in salt and sugar, you could go a little crazy like that. She poured me a cup of tea and passed me some cake with a set of utensils she was just getting out. It tastes good. Drinking the tea and eating the cake, I noticed a much more amateurish flavor than my Hatter, the future Hatter, would make. However, it tasted good. Maybe it tasted happier. My shoulders shook up and down for a while. I cried for the longest time I had cried since I was a toddler, rubbing my eyes pink. Once my tears stopped, I cleared my throat and averted my eyes from the Hatter. Compliments to you, Hatter. Why, thank you. We sat together in a peaceful silence for a while afterwards before she turned her head and exclaimed, "Oh, there they are!" Oh! A sleepy little mouse and a hare with a straw hat approached from the forest path. They looked just like the little puppets my Hatter wore often on her hands. Looking at me in curiosity, they took their seats at the table. A guest? Looks like a pest. Don't be rude, March. There's already a crowd. Free's already a crowd. No room. No room. That's literally word for word a conversation that the real Hatter had. Three's a crowd, but 4's a party. If we get 5, then, well, we can think about that later. Don't make a girl cry, March. This is Alice. This is March Hare. This is Dormouse. Hatter poured some tea for both of them, and they began to chat, glancing towards me and tugging me into the conversation, even as their ramblings devolved into nonsense. Halfway through each topic, the Dormouse seemed to snooze off and dip her little nose into her tea by accident. Did Hatter make you cry, Alice? She's a lady killer, she is. I've always known it. Dormouse, wake up for the gossip. Get that tea, Dormouse, or else you're gonna fall in your tea. Right here, March. She looks like butter. It's the old hair. Butter. She looks a little silly, like her brain's been all churned up, but she looks like good butter. I couldn't help but crack a slight smile at their antics. more sunny and buttery. Do you want butter, Alice? No thank you, I'm quite alright. That aside. Psst, psst. Alice, Alice. March Hare and Dormouse pulled me to the side for a private conversation. Hatter seems to fancy you. Not so directly. Don't raise your voice, Dormouse. Dormouse, shh. That's usually my line, March. You can't own lines now, can you? March is right, the Hatter looks fondly upon you. You two seem nice. Kinda dumb. He seems nice. I still approve. I am just saying, alright? Be kind to Hatter. Be good to our Hatter. I can't be around her forever, so you have to promise this, Alice. I have a feeling that this is very important. Swear it on a stick of holy butter. I won't be here for very long, but no, I'll promise it. I swear on everything that could ever be precious to me that I'll treat her well if we meet again. Oh. Then she's back to bed. Dormouse, Dormouse. We returned to the Hatter. The four of us continued chatting over tea. I enjoyed tea time today, I really did. I didn't belong here. I didn't deserve here any either. I knew that my presence would just throw everything into disarray. Finishing my tea, I stopped the Hatter from refilling my cup. I had a wonderful time today. I have to leave. This place isn't mine, but thank you for the tea again, Hatter. And you too, March, Dormouse. It was nice meeting you, Alice. I already knew you from the future, but I was also happy to see you, Hatter. It was a shame that my Hatter didn't feel the same way. Alice, what did you feel for the Hatter? Something precious. She is precious. See you later. I wanted her to be happy. Auf Wiedersehen. Giving her a weak wave, I left the happier Hatter. I didn't particularly have a place to go. Home, that was no longer my goal. Walking away, I wiped away the tears that welled up again. Eventually, I was falling again. I died. That much I understood. However, I seemed to have forgotten how I died this last time. In a way, I knew that I couldn't keep doing this. Alice, this was your last iteration. The power letting you keep falling had already run out. Next time, you wouldn't come back again. The next time, you wouldn't come back to Wonderland at any time. So far, the highlighted letters of the song names. We have LICE question mark. As my body pieced itself back into place, I waited for myself to stop falling. I burst back into my relative present and hit the ground softly. Laying back flat on the ground, I grasped at the grass below me and cut my fingers on their blades. Above me, the sky was terribly blue. No matter who I was, the world would move on without me. However, people could not so simply move on. Be it a matter of hate or a matter of love, just a matter of apathy. The connections people had were difficult to sever. Before I realized it, a certain person had settled into my heart. I want to see Hatter. My Hatter. Alice, you really are no good. No, it's better to say that I really am no good. I had already fallen for that mad Hatter. She wormed her way into my heart unintentionally as she threw me on a wild duck chase for the Red Queen's dismembered parts in her revenge. I wondered how she felt now that she had her goal fulfilled. The final look on her face that I saw before I died was painful. It was painful not because of the crushing of my skull, but because of the constriction of my heart as I looked at her. A strange girl, a lonely girl, ultimately a terribly kind girl who was stumbling along a bloody path. That was who the Hatter was. Heartbroken girl, because she lost her two closest friends. I'm sorry. And if this flow of time is anything to go by, she lost her two closest friends at the hands of the Queen who so closely resembled the random friend she made and kind of fancied earlier on. I pushed myself up. Useless Alice had a want. Not one of obligation, not one of what should be. Because really, had I really wanted to go home? Not one that tutors or anyone forced upon her. I went to find the Hatter. I started walking. I started running. There she was, all by her lonesome. Bags under her eyes had not lightened at all, and she listlessly played with the rim of a teacup until she suddenly saw me. Why? She harshly stood up. Why did you come back? Why can't you just disappear? Grabbing her plate off the table, and ignoring the pastry atop it, she chucked it at me. Smash! The plate brushed me and shattered on the ground, leaving a mangled lump of sweets and porcelain. Alice? Alice! She slammed the table, originally forcing her hands down with great momentum before suddenly slowing down as she smacked it. Wincing, the hatter let out a pained, guttural noise. Why are you like this? I hate you, Alice. She clutched her chest and glared at me with murky, watery eyes. Why are you like this? I had no answer. You're contradictorily cruel and kind. You're messed up, Alice. Just choose one thing to be. Heartless woman. I like you, but I also hate you. I also liked her. I loved her. Useless freeloader who just comes to bother me, a waste of space. You're Alice who always accompanies me and extends a hand to me. The Red Queen, a monster, killer. I hate you. Why couldn't you have probably just died? I killed you. You're the same thing as the Red Queen. You shouldn't have come back. You. She picked up a teacup and threw it at me, smashing me right in the forehead. I stumbled back. Hot tea spilled down me, mixing with the blood that came from the simple flesh wound. The cup itself shattered into tiny pieces on the ground. Go away! I grabbed the bloody hammer off the table and flung it, missing me by a fair margin. It whooshed through the air, spinning, and lodged itself deeply into a tree behind me. My blood was still on the middle face. Tell me who you're supposed to be. Well, that's a simple choice. I am Alice. The Red Queen and I are one and the same, but I am Alice. Her essence is intertwined with mine, but I am me and me alone. I'm scared of the idea that we could be one and the same. I never want to become someone like her. An empty heart, an empty life. Even as she lashes out to the rest of the world, she's still empty. Admittedly, I'm also no good. A heartless person who hurts others as well, but I hold just two certainties. I am Alice. Alice is me. It's what she said from the very beginning, isn't it? And for the I who am Alice, you are the person who took my heart. Is it okay to say I'm Alice? Nervously fiddled with my fingers behind my back, looking at the hatter as my heart raced. I couldn't read her expression beyond those mismatched eyes. She wiped her eyes with her sleeves. Opening her mouth time and time again, she seemed to have trouble finding her words. I like Alice. Miss Alice. Red Queen scares me, but if you would let me believe it, to believe that you are Alice. Ever since March and Dormouse left, time has stopped at tea time like a curse. I'm tired of tea. Is my life just for revenge on the Red Queen? She looked up at the sky as if lost. The Red Queen is dead. Lippily mouthing the words slowly again, she seemed to convince herself of that reality. Then she looked back towards me. Alice, you are Alice. Her voice grew small. She gazed downward to her feet. I hurt you. I know. I extended a hand towards her. She was all alone. She who stood so close yet so far away. I wanted for her to take my hand. We were both problem children. Perhaps I was a little mad. She slowly walked before me, looking at my hand as if seeing something foreign. Lifting her arm up, she reached out her hand shakingly. Her fingers trembled and hovered over my hands. For a moment, she retracted her hand. Then she placed her hand in mine. Oh, I love you, Hatter. Oh, Alice. She stared at me, trying to ascertain the truth of my words. The deeply shaky breath she gave me her response. I love you too. Would you accompany me for a dance? Give me a kiss and make me happy? She asked of me just 3 things. I can't make you happy. Eh? I wish that I could fulfill all 3 of her requests. A physical item or a physical deed, those I could easily accomplish, but one of the heart I knew not if I could. I don't know if we can make each other happy. But I placed a kiss upon her lips. It's fine. I have no ability to promise such things. I want to let you be happy. You're my dearest, precious person. I want you to be happy, Alice. That makes me happy. And not just like this. More so. Oh? Ah! I took her hand and we danced upon the table. Spinning about, our feet tangled with the tablecloth and tea set strewn about. Hatter, if the world were to end tomorrow, what would you do? I have nothing left here for me, Alice, so I suppose I would do nothing. You're still right here with me, aren't you? She was so light. Wish I could show you my world. It's not a particularly spectacular world. Rather, it's utterly unfantastical. It's an interesting factoid. Alice as the Red Queen. Her left eye was red and her right eye was gold. Hatter, right eye is gold, left eye is red. Interesting, huh? Yet, there were things that I liked. Maybe my siblings are better. The 2 cats. You care for cats at all? And I would have liked that. I pulled her along, leading the mad dance. With no music, we moved to the erratic tempo of our hearts together. Alice. Why did you fall in love with me? Maybe it was just fate. Maybe it was just luck. Meeting you time and time again here, I grew fonder and fonder of you. First I simply thought you were lonely, but eventually I fell in love with your heart. Love, I've never known about love before. I'm not sure if I can truly explain why my heart beats as it does for you, Hatter. Even that aside, you're cute. You can cook and sew and brew great tea. You're warm. You're actually rather kind. What about you to me? I should ask that to you instead. Happiness. Probably we had no such fate, but we wished for it. Finally we fell. Falling, falling, falling. We were falling. Down this rabbit hole with no start nor end, we were falling together. I knew not where we would fall, for there were no more Wonderlands for us to fall to. That world we just fell from had been the very last iteration. I embraced the Hatter and closed my eyes. How warm she was, the person who I treasured. I asked for a world where we could be happy together. Surely we would meet again in a land much more wonderful than this. Sometime, somewhere, surely. Wow. That's a heartfelt but yet sad ending. Alice ending. Oh. Grip scene 64%. Extra. Whoa. Oh, okay, just right. Cuttings. Some locked. CGs. The box. Alice falling. Yeah, Red Queen. Same eyes. Opposite orientation. How are these little effects? The animation sliding in, zooming in. Really lovely touches. We're still missing one. So we have 3 core endings and 6, looks like 6 dead endings. Ah, yes. Alice return. L-I-C-E. Question mark. Thought so. How did we miss this one? Did we find that one? I don't know if we heard that one. It's interesting. So, plenty of dead ends to go. So we have Alice ending. Presumably we have a Red Queen ending? Based on the amount of cruel choices we had up to that point. Like, if I had to characterize the other choices by tone, we have cruel choices. And we have choices where we can, like, give up our own body parts. And before I go and give too much more thought into what the sort of iterative loops mean for us, wonder. It kind of feels like it felt for a bit that we were kind of looping through time in reverse. And we hit a period of time where the Red Queen was in control. It seems obviously that Alice and the Red Queen are one and the same. What that means in terms of Alice being Alice is a whole nother question. Don't really have answers to. I don't think, but poses a lot of interesting questions. What is this Wonderland we're in? What is the true nature of the Red Queen, the true history of the Red Queen, and Alice's presence in the world? Is Alice always the Red Queen? What pushed Alice to become the Red Queen? Were they two distinct people beforehand? I don't know. I think for now, we're getting closer. Let's go. If we rewind back to here, then again, this choice seems like it could be they're different aspects of Alice's personality, because there's several points in narration where Alice is sort of narrating to herself, Alice, Alice, what do you remember, Alice? That could very well be the Red Queen side of her, so when we say cut out Alice's tongue, we get into the Red Queen, eh? Grab the cake knife from the other side of the table. I know. Without hesitation, I thrust the knife into my own mouth. I began to cut, ignoring how the metal choked my airway and blood pooled up and dribbled out from between my lips. I sawed back and forth with a slightly serrated knife, much too dull, tearing through my tongue. I cut, ripped, and sawed. Connected by one little string of flesh, the tongue, I ripped it off by force. I didn't want to swallow the piece of meat lingering in my mouth. Coughing and choking, I brought a hand up to my lips and blood spilled right past my fingers. The knife clattered to the ground. My head hurt more than my mouth, temples throbbing. Alice belonged to the Red Queen. Uh-oh. I spit the bloody lump of tongue into my hands and gave it to the Red Queen with shaking hands that doubled and then tripled in my contorting vision. She seemed to swallow it. I got a crunch from inside her mouth, a disgusting sound. Alice. Alice. She smiled and I mirrored with a shaky smile. What a time for madness. With her hand still nailed to the chair, she shifted, crossing her legs as if to make herself a tad more comfortable while she laughed silently at me. I heard the Hatter call out, but like the Red Queen's voice reached my ears. Red, red, red wouldn't stop flowing from my mouth, dribbling past my lips, pouring down my throat in a viscous, metallic flow. How have you enjoyed my domain? Everything was spinning. I sputtered out a wordless response as I grew lightheaded, drowning in my own blood. The red was spilling all over my armchair. No, I certainly have to clean up all the vermin that gathered when I was gone, and all the thoughts that mind should never have had. She lifted her hands and tore out the nails lodged through her flesh. Quickly the skin and muscle knitted together, leaving but a faint pinkish color on her skin. Picking up the nails, she threw them like darts toward the Hatter. Although I couldn't look towards the Hatter, I heard an ugly, piercing sound. Oh, that's not good. For example, my little white bird. The Red Queen gave me a hand of applause. Alice, your job is done. Well done, myself of Netherworld. This is the best that you have accomplished with your life. You have my commendations. I couldn't breathe. This time I gasped and wheezed. Only liquid flowed down my airway. Red, red, red painted my lungs red. I slumped over, trying to hold myself up, even as I continued to bleed so much red that I couldn't bleed any further. Breathe so much red that I couldn't breathe any further. This was it for Alice. Thump. Dead end. Should not be surprised there. Okay. As for where to go from here... we still have some time. Go from the Duchess's ball to the end. What if we offer up our own arm? I looked towards the White Queen. Alice, why not chop off the White Bird's arm? You had already taken one royal's arm, so another's arm was not much more. I shook my head to dispel the thoughts. Would this arm suffice? I extended my own arm to the guard, ignoring that the White Queen tugged on my cloak while shaking her head to tell me to rethink. The guard nodded. Leading us to the side and having me keep the arm outstretched above a table, he retrieved a clean, shining blade. The blade glittered with the sun and the moon, like the moon. Slash. The clean cut, my arm came straight off. It fell to the table with a small bounce. A sharp pain hit me the next moment. I stumbled back into the White Queen, gritting my teeth as my blood rushed out of the wound and dripped red. 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 She reached out a cold hand to touch my shoulder. I squeezed my eyes shut in expectation of a jolt of pain to run down that now severed arm. However, the pain never arrived. A numbness filled my flesh. The red seemed to slow. White Queen! The doctor arrived with some sort of medicine that she applied to the wound. Once the bleeding ceased, she bandaged my injury, wanted me not to remove the bandage before I reobtained my arm. She made a respectful bow towards the White Queen. Alice, could you reattach such a limb? You weren't a lizard, but a mere human. A little light-headed, I shook off the question. The guard retrieved my arm, placing it into a sealed box before heading off to another servant who took it away to a safe place. Please enter, esteemed guests. The The guard began to lead us in. Alice, this was not necessary. What was on your mind before you offered your arm? Nothing in particular. And back to the Duchess's ballroom. I won't be much good at dancing without an arm. I extended my stump arm from under my cloak, waving it before her as a reminder. Perhaps I had been too hasty earlier in chopping it off. Ah. Another time? Yes, another time. As we idled about, a single gentleman approached the White Queen, stumbling over his words as he invited her for a dance. He looked towards me for confirmation. I couldn't exactly stop her, so I made a non-committal gesture. Her choices were her own. She took his hand and they went for a dance. Eye-catching, she really was eye-catching. Couldn't look away from her as if she would somehow disappear. She was pretty, incomprehensibly so in my heart. While I watched, she met my gaze from far away and mouthed words I could not decipher. How unpleasant, watching her in the hands of another. Even if just for one dance. Music stopped, along with the dancing. Chess time. We could. Let's do all the reverse choices now. Do you trust me? I do. Choosing to do this means you put your safety into my hands, White Queen. Are you certain that you trust me? Yes, I trust you, Alice. Her eyes met mine, filling me with discomfort, as although she trusted me, I did not trust me. Given the responsibility for another person, I knew not if I could fulfill her expectations. I directed her to be the king, to be protected. The white piece already on the board had handed over a fake white crown and a sword to the White Queen, taking his leave so that she could walk into position. I started with the first move. Clang, clash, my white pieces fell, but so did the Duchess's black pieces. Each of hers I took down, she captured one of mine, setting us evenly on our score. Each time I looked at the game, I ascertained that the White Queen was out of harm's way. If she were to be taken down, the game would end. If she were to be taken down, I would have failed her trust. Alice, you were soft-hearted today. I placed my hand to my chin, pondering on what my next move should be. Perhaps giving her hints would be cheating. Your Majesty the White Queen, at this moment you are playing a piece on the board and therefore may not speak. That's a shame. You're a very amusing person, Alice. Still, I feel sorry for letting her into your hands. The Duchess saw something that I did not see. I will take that as a compliment, Duchess. Our game continued till neither had many pieces left on the board. Surveying the results of my formulaic strategies, I found the light to victory. I nodded towards the White Queen, who had seen the same thing. Checkmate, Duchess. My White Queen cut down the Black King. Duchess clapped her hands. Congratulations, this is my loss. Okay, so we win. The Duchess gestured over the servant with the prize and handed the leg to the White Queen. Hope you enjoy the rest of the ball. And come visit us. Alas. Ah. When a servant to leave and were redirected outwards, he retrieved the sealed box with our entrance fee and handed it over. The White Queen opened the box for me. Inside lied my arm, and a small jar of the same medicine from before. My arm still looked fresh. I unraveled my bandage to find an unchanged wound. Popping the arm back onto the stump, I felt a strange knitting sensation at the connection point. I applied some medicine to the arm. With the squishing sound, my arm was reattached. The only remnant of its severance was a thick, thin pink line that slowly faded into my skin. The White Queen passed the Red Queen's severed leg to me. I will leave you with a limb. Do you want to meet with the Red Queen again? That's a difficult question, Alice. One you've answered already. Okay. So at that point, we're pretty much on the same route. I don't think anything's going to change from here. Tip top, tip top. Pass to the Red Queen. I'm Alice. Get to have a dance. Okay, so we have to go through a deeper dive if we want to have a chance. So we got 3 chapters in here. Or I should say we have prologue and 3 chapters. And then it's labeled Mismatched Eyes. I was gonna say, one of the things that I'm pretty sure was a dead ending was earlier on with the birds, where he could have killed the bird and then become small, and then the bigger bird probably would have killed us for killing his friend. But I think for now, I'm gonna leave off, call this Alice ending. Bit more script exploration. And say that when we come back, we're gonna explore a bit, try and get the rest of our endings. Don't know if it'll be all one video, but we'll get there. God, I have my thoughts about this going reverse back through time. I have my thoughts and theories and sorts, but don't really have enough to confirm anything. I'd call it like a near death experience, sort of recalling your past life, or your life flashing before your eyes, sort of flashing backwards back to the beginning, sort of a reverse looping. Say that's a thought on my mind. Again, don't know if there's anything to back that up, but that would explain the sort of reverse looping we're going on. Which is weird because we went on what was seemingly. Then again, was that a reverse looping, or was that just recalling memories of dying and then memories prior to that, and then coming to at some point after the fact? And going to see Hatter before what's left of the world collapsed. Still don't have much of an explanation for that. We're waking up from a coma? Are we dying? That's my meta explanations, which I have nothing to back up. Are we dying? The dream ending? It's hard to say. Certainly intrigued, though. And the other question to address would be Alice and the Red Queen. Like a pretty well signposted the fact that Alice was in fact the Red Queen. That was wonderfully obvious, but not in a bad way. Say it's never a bad way to make a twist obvious. Makes it better when you know it's coming. But it's hard to say. Obviously, we saw that one dead ending where it's question was the Red Queen specifically called us her from another world. Which also raises the question of do we have that aspect of the Red Queen in us? Is that just a part of Alice's personality in reality? like an extreme born from the lifestyle in rich home with locked up with tutors pushing her for success. That being the logical extreme of that upbringing that she's getting. And that gives us that balance between Alice, the human who just wants to be a kid and experience love and affection and kid things, and the Alice who's being drilled into by tutors, only interested in future success. That being the two sides of her. Don't know. And we haven't gotten any sort of ending that would address, come close to addressing any of that. So we'll hold off on that until the rest of this. It's just me spitballing theories which might explain things. But you always know you got something good when when you can sit there afterwards and reflect on everything you've seen and try and process it all. There's a lot going on. Definitely, definitely excited to get back to come back next video and go for more endings. For now, though, until next time, till then, thanks for watching.